Today we're going to talk about a phrase that I'm pretty sure you've heard of. Hello and welcome to Safety Update with Sam. That's me. You guys know that. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it here. We, in the last week, have had 4 incidences in one accident, okay? Just in the last week. That's high. I know we have a number of trucks and equipment on the road, but typically we don't see that kind of number on incidents and accidents and things like that. And so I want to take a couple minutes here and address that and what we need to be doing here. So the one accident that we had, we spun a car out in Chicago, and that ended up rupturing our fuel line or our fuel tanks, and it was kind of a bad deal because it was right in the middle of downtown Chicago, right on the interstate, and not a good deal because it's never good to get into an accident like that. But here's the thing. We had 4 incidences too, and if you've gone through orientation lately with me, you'll know that I kind of have accidents and we have incidences. Accidents are the big ones, okay? That's insurance is getting involved, cops are involved, all that kind of stuff. Incidences are the more minor things, okay? Scraping a pole, backing into another truck, just things like that. Things that maybe we're not going to get the cops involved, we'll handle on our own, okay? We've had 4 incidences this last week. Nothing too serious. We backed into another semi truck. We clipped the back end of a trailer, of a fifth wheel trailer, not a semi trailer, but a fifth wheel trailer when we were turning. We hit a deep hole on an exit ramp that we were trying to turn into, and then we scraped the side of another semi truck that was pulled up next to us that probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I'm not going to get into that. Guys, I want to talk to you for a second about situational awareness, okay? This is the ability to understand what's around you and have the presence of mind to know the dangers and the hazards that are around you. A lot of you display it. I understand there's lapses in judgment and things like that, but we really, really need to pay attention now to our situational awareness, okay? We need to know what's going on around us. We need to know who's where. Do we have cars behind us? Do we have cars in our blind spot? Do we have other semi trucks behind us? When we're backing in somewhere, are we in the lanes? The stripes. Who's to our left? Who's to our right? This is all things that you as a driver need to be aware of. You need to be aware of your situation, of your surroundings, okay? There's a lot to take in. I get that. I really do. But it's up to you guys to make sure that you are driving these semi-trucks in a safe manner and not putting yourself in bad situations, okay? So situational awareness. Know what's going on around you, okay? The phrase you've heard a ton, goal. Get out and look. If you have the ability to get out and look, do it, okay? The worst thing you can do is make an assumption going, yeah, I think I got this. If you have a doubt, get out of your truck, take a look and say, maybe I don't. Maybe I need to pull forward and straighten her back out a little bit, Goal. Get out and look if it's possible. I understand there's times when you're in situations where you can't get out and look. I get that. But if you can, get out and look, okay? Goal. You've heard that. You've probably seen it on mirrors. A lot of companies tape the stickers on mirrors. Goal. Get out and look. If you can do it. If you can't do it, make sure you're putting yourself in good situations. And again, I understand there's times where you got put into a situation. I get that. If at all costs, don't get into a situation like that. I see dash cam videos a lot of our drivers being put in situations, but then them staying in those situations, whether it's in bad traffic, going fast, in the wrong lanes, trying to get over. Again, there are times you get put in situations. There are times you put yourself in situations. Don't put yourself in a bad situation, okay? Make sure you're in the right lane or the lane that you're supposed to be in. Make sure you're doing the speed limit. Make sure that, if cars are acting erratically around you, get away from them, okay? Because they're only going to hurt you in the end. So put yourself in good situations. Next thing, make sure that your equipment is correct, okay? When I said we hit a deep hole, ended up breaking a brake chamber, the problem was when I looked at the video footage, the tandems were all the way to the back. Now, before you come at me and say, well, weight issues, yes, okay. There are sometimes when that is a factor. This wasn't one of those times though. The tandems on the trailer were all the way to the back, meaning that it takes forever to turn, okay? You got so much clearance back there that, you know, if you're in a tight turn situation, you're not going to make it. And this driver didn't. So make sure that your equipment is correct, okay? Make sure your tandems are where they're supposed to be. Make sure that everything just looks good. Again, we ask you to do a pre and post trip. It's really a great idea, if you're not doing it already, to, while getting loaded, take a look around, okay? Make sure that your equipment's looking right. Make sure nothing's dragging. Make sure all the tires are inflated, all right? Make sure that your equipment is good. And then don't trust others to make the right decision, okay? I know that sounds mean, but we got into a situation this week where one of our drivers thought, I think he's not going to do that. Guess what the other driver did? He did that, okay? And we ended up scraping the side of their CMV because we assumed that this other driver wasn't going to move, and he did, okay? So that caused us to scrape alongside the truck, and quite like I said, put us in a bad situation. Don't assume anyone else is going to make a good decision, okay? I've yet to see that happen, okay? It's kind of joking, but not kind of, okay? You know, when I've told you, I love riding my motorcycle, but one of the things I always remember is assume none of the cars see you, okay? Because a lot of times they don't. So assume that other drivers, whether it be in cars or semi-trucks or whatever, aren't paying attention to you, aren't looking at you, aren't going to make the right decision, because a lot of times they're not going to, okay? So one of the reasons why I bring all this up, make sure you're aware, you have your situational awareness, you know, going, is there's a couple bad things that happen when we don't have that, okay? The biggest one being, or I shouldn't say the biggest one of the bigger ones is, you all know this, I'm not breaking any news here. Trucking right now is working on razor thin margins, okay? That's just the way it is. Now, things are getting better. That's what all the data is telling us, but we work in razor thin margins. If we hit something or we back into something, there goes a profit for that load, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, now we have to fix something either on our truck or on someone else's truck. There goes all the profit for that load, possibly even the profit for the next couple loads, depending on how bad it is, okay? So do the company a favor and keep the equipment, you know, don't be backing into stuff, because again, there goes the profit on that load. And now we're working, you know, 2, 3, 4 loads maybe for free, essentially, to pay off what happened on this previous load. The equipment gets beat up. Guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We have really nice equipment here at Meiborg, okay? Let's keep it that way. You know, it's kind of sucks when we're driving down the road and we've got a bumper half hanging on, or scrapes along the side, or you know, mud flaps bent up or something, you know, whatever. It just, these are really nice trucks. These are really nice trailers. I'd really like to keep them looking nice. And I know you guys too, a lot of you have a ton of pride in this equipment here, and, you know, dinging and banging them up, beating them up, just makes everything look bad. So that's the other thing. The biggest one for you guys is it wastes your time, okay? Now you got to get routed back to the shop. Now you got to spend a day, maybe a day and a half, depending on if we have the parts or if we have the manpower that day to do it. You know, we're not busy with something else. You're wasting your time, okay? Now you have to sit and get the equipment fixed, and that's just a day that you don't get to go out there, drive, and make some money, okay? So I'm not trying to beat you guys up by any means. I'm just trying to show you what happens when we do run into these minor dings and scratches or whatever. You know, it's not a big enough collision to put you in a backup truck, which there's no saying we'll have one at that time either. But like these minor things that need to get fixed, you know, because they're not DOT, like you rip a bumper off, we got to get that fixed. Okay, that's a DOT violation if we don't have that on there. So we have to get that fixed. That's going to take half a day when all's said and done. Getting it back here, routing, you know, it just wastes your time. And that's something that you don't want to do. That's something I don't want to see you do. That's something dispatch doesn't want for you. I mean, nobody wants that. So situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Don't put yourself in bad situations. Get out and look if you possibly can. Make sure that the equipment is good and make sure the equipment is where it's supposed to be and properly inflated and properly set. And then do not trust anybody to make the right decision. Put that in your hands, okay? You guys make the right decision on this, okay? If you have any questions about this, please let me know. We're kind of running long on this video, so I think we're going to skip the dash cam for this week. Maybe we'll do a special one midweek, you know, just to keep you guys on your toes. But I appreciate you guys watching this, listening to it, taking the feedback. Again, if you have questions, let me know. My contact information is at the bottom. Guys, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I am here to help you out, okay? I'm not here to come down on anybody unless, you know, we need to. But no, I want you guys to succeed. That is what we all want, okay? Is for you guys to succeed. And anything I can do to help, I'm here to do that. So sometimes I just have to remind you, be aware of the situation around you, okay? That'll help you in the long run, all right? So anyways, that's all I've got. Reach out to me if you need to. And as always, guys, make sure that you drive safe.